and Sidekick Accounting, and today I wanted to talk to you about what makes a contractor versus what makes an employee, because this conversation comes up a lot when we are talking to small business owners, especially ones that started up kind of cash strapped or cash focused, and they had to grow their business organically. So which sometimes means that unfortunately corners are cut. So not to make it out to be any kind of way, but if you select to pay the people that work for you as a contractor versus an employee when they shouldn't be, it can get you into a lot of trouble. And that's what I've seen come up. So typically, when people start to think about calling an accountant, it's when they know they need one or they have to have one because of something that's happened. So we get, scenarios where people are like, okay, I'm ready to hire an accountant. I need you. Or somebody's like, help, I need you, right? So those are usually the two different types of conversations that we have when we initially talk to people. And a lot of times it has to do with this contractor versus employee conversation, because people, when you have a business, and if you have a business, employees are going to be one of your bigger costs. And an employee, by definition, is somebody that gets a paycheck where they get a W-2 at the end of the year and you pay their taxes throughout the year. That is what an employee actually is. But sometimes when people talk about employees, they're actually talking about contractors that work for them, but because they're paying them as a contractor, so they might be paying them cash, they might be paying them check, but they're not getting payroll taxes taken out. They're not running it through a payroll system. And so it's just kind of straight, cut and dry, but the taxes aren't getting paid. And so what winds up happening is that sometimes 1099s get issued at the end of the year because you're supposed to do that for contractors. Sometimes they don't. Sometimes they do, and they shouldn't have, because that person was actually supposed to be an employee. So I'm going to tell you a couple of ways to do a quick assessment as to whether or not the person that's working for you is an employee or a contractor. So one, think about, does this employee or person working for you, use their own supplies, their own equipment? Do they come to work or do the work on their time, or are they on a scheduled time based off of what you say? Are they able to do what they're doing for you, for other people, in a capacity where they're going to get paid the same way? So think about it in terms of like what we do. So we're contractors for small business. They contract us to do their accounting work. They don't tell us when to do it. They don't tell us where to do it. They don't give me a computer. They might give me their statements, but that's not actually supplies. It's just information, right? So they're not dictating where we work or how we work or when we work, just as long as the work is getting done, right? So we're a contractor, and what I do for other businesses. Sidekick Accounting, we currently service almost 60 clients throughout the US. So we do it for a big capacity of other businesses, and people are paying us in the exact same way for the same type of services. So if your employee or the person you have working for you is not operating in that same kind of place, then most likely they're not a contractor, they're an employee, and you need to put them on payroll before the Department of Workforce Development audits you, and you get in a lot of trouble and you have to pay all the taxes back. For the most part, if the person working for you checks all of those boxes, but they are not a business themselves, they're not structured as a business, they don't have their own insurance, they don't have a business card, they don't have a business name, they're not operating under a business name, then usually they should still be treated as an employee. So you want to make sure that the person working for you is not using your stuff. There are a couple of workarounds with that, is like if they're going to be paying you rent. We see this more in the logistics business with truckers than any other business. We see people getting paid as contractors when they should be getting paid as employees, more in the retail space. So food-based businesses, boutiques, other type of stores, e-commerce, that's a little bit hazy depending on what you're doing. But for those people working the register, the people counting inventory, the people packing stuff up, the people serving, those people are usually employees. So if you are not sure, check your state Department of Workforce Development or Department of Labor. Different states call it different things. But basically, Google it, say whatever state, contractor versus employee, and they should give you a checklist of the questions you should be asking so that you know whether or not they are classified properly. But if you have somebody and you're like, ooh, that might be me, check it out, because they do audits. And I can guarantee you that given the state of this past year, the government is going to be hounding for money. They're going to be auditing so that they can get every part that they can. And DWD is already notorious for that. In Wisconsin, they will audit you. They do not care. So you want to make sure that you are staying in compliance when it comes to the people that work for you. And if you're not sure, give me a call and we can talk about it. We can also talk about different things that you can do to mitigate the burden of having an employee, because sometimes people think that it's cheaper having a contractor versus having an employee, but that's not always the case. And sometimes you can negotiate different rates depending on switching that classification. So give me a call, because we might be able to figure out some things that will work to your favor and, you know, be able to help bridge that gap that you feel like you might have with hiring an employee. The truth is that there's a lot of freedom and ability that comes with having employees. And the other thing, just to kind of throw it out, so if you're absolutely like, I don't want to have employees, I don't want to have employees, I don't want to have employees, the workaround to have an employee work for you and not get in trouble is to use a staffing agency. So if you need somebody to work for you, but you're not ready to pay the payroll tax, or you're not sure how that's going to affect you, or you need a temporary employee versus an actual employee, and you don't want to go through that whole headache, talk to a staffing company, because that's kind of like the perfect medium between the two that will still keep you in compliance. So if you have any questions, let me know. But that is the main difference between employee and a contractor. Thanks.